Imagine discovering that the final book of the Bible was not written only for a distant end, but as a symbolic map that crosses centuries, describing patterns that continue repeating right before our eyes. Revelation does not begin with destruction. It begins with an unveiling, a coded message delivered in a time of persecution, fear, and social upheaval. Why does such an ancient text still provoke so much unease? What exactly was being revealed, the end of the world, or the anatomy of human power? From its very first line, the book suggests that not everything is literal. Symbolic language, intense visions, metaphors speaking about empires, crises, and cycles. Maybe the real question was never when will this happen, but is this already happening? What if the true meaning is not about predicting dates, but recognizing patterns that always return? Now think about the moment this text emerged, a world dominated by an empire demanding absolute loyalty, communities living under surveillance, uncertainty, and political pressure. Revelation is born precisely in this environment, as a coded message of resistance and hope. It was not a manual of terror, but a warning about how systems of power are built and how they collapse. Why does this matter now? Because history shows that structures of control, economic crises, and deep cultural shifts are not exceptions. They are recurring cycles. When the text speaks of tribulation, it does not describe suffering alone, but transformation. Each generation reads these words and asks, are we facing another one of these cycles, or ignoring signals we have already seen before? The central symbols of Revelation are intentionally ambiguous. Beasts represent political power. Seals signal unfolding events. Trumpets function as escalating warnings. None of this requires complex mystical interpretation. It is visual language, describing human processes. Empires promising absolute order. Leaders concentrating authority. Societies believing they are invincible, until they are not. The text does not merely describe a future event, but the mechanism through which civilizations rise and decline. How many times has history repeated this pattern? Rome, other powers, systems that seemed eternal, dissolved under their own weight. Revelation records this cycle as if it were a recurring signature of humanity. When we bring this lens into the present, the parallels become uncomfortably familiar. Accelerated globalization, technology redefining surveillance, identity, and power. Crises crossing borders in hours. The modern world feels more interconnected and more fragile than ever. Revelation speaks of interdependence, of systems merging commerce, authority, and belief, not as literal technological prophecy, but as a description of a human tendency. Centralized power to create stability and generate vulnerability. Are we witnessing pure progress, or the repetition of an ancient historical equation? The issue is not whether we are living the end, but whether we recognize the signs of concentration, tension, and transformation that have always preceded major turning points. The most intriguing moment in the book is not destruction, it is the unveiling of the pattern, the message hidden in plain sight. Civilizations do not fall by accident. They follow predictable trajectories: expansion, excess, internal strain, and reconfiguration. Revelation transforms this historical observation into symbolic narrative. What appears supernatural is, in many ways, deeply human. Collective fear, the pursuit of control, chain reactions. The text is not only talking about a final event, but about a mirror. Each generation can look into it and ask, where are we in this cycle? At the peak of confidence, at the start of tension, or in the transition that reshapes everything. This interpretation completely changes Revelation's role. It stops being a calendar of the end and becomes a warning about historical responsibility. If patterns repeat, choices matter. The text suggests that collapses are not arbitrary punishments. They are accumulated consequences. Societies that ignore balance, justice, and adaptation eventually confront their limits. This is not fatalism. It is historical observation expressed through symbolism. The true warning may be this: recognizing the cycle is not about fearing it, but learning how to interrupt it. The silent question of the book echoes through time. Are we prepared to change, or destined to repeat. There is also a powerful psychological dimension. Revelation speaks directly to humanity's fear of the unknown and organizes it into narrative. It transforms collective anxiety into structure. Instead of random chaos, it presents sequence, cause, and effect. This does not erase fear, but gives it shape. And when fear gains shape, it can be examined. The text functions like a mental map for times of crises. It suggests that turbulence is not a sign of inevitable annihilation, but of transition. Every era of change feels like the end of those living through it. The question is, are we witnessing ruin or reconfiguration? When we examine recent history, we see that every generation believed it was living through decisive moments. Global wars, technological revolutions, financial collapses. Each event seemed to confirm ancient warnings. Yet humanity continued, altered, reorganized, but not extinguished. The pattern remains. Tension, followed by adaptation. Revelation can be understood as a reminder that crisis and renewal walk together. The end of one structure often marks the beginning of another. This does not diminish the gravity of change, but reveals that transformation is a constant feature of human experience. At its core, the secret of revelation may not be predicting the future, but teaching us how to read the present. It invites the observer to identify signals, cycles, and consequences, not as a passive spectator waiting for an ending, but as an active participant in history. If patterns exist, they can be studied. If cycles repeat, they can be recognized. The text does not demand fear, it demands attention, and attention creates choice. The real revelation may be this: the future is not only something that happens to us, it is something we help shape. And so, the book many fear as an announcement of the end can be read as a call to historical clarity, a reminder that power, crisis, and renewal have always coexisted. Revelation does not whisper inevitable destruction. It transmits awareness. Its final message is not terror, but intellectual and moral vigilance. Recognize the cycles, observe the signals, question the structures, because every generation receives the same riddle and the same opportunity to answer it differently. This is not a distant warning. It is a continuous signal, and now it has reached you.